Hey YouTube, just picked up a 2008 Subaru Outback wagon here, and it's got a bad clutch. I bought this thing on the Facebook marketplace for 900 bucks. The guy wouldn't come down. He wanted 1,000, I got it for 900. It's got a few scuffs and bruises. I'll show you what we got, and let's put a clutch in this thing. I drove down, this was down Minneapolis, just south of Minneapolis, about an hour drive for me this morning, picked it up. It's got a little bit of the Minneapolis salt grime there, some scuffs here, couple little door dings. Not too bad. It's not too bad for rust just on the hood there. You look down, it's got some door dings down here, some scuffs. The motor runs great. We started up, it's got 200 thou on it. CD player, pretty clean. On the floor here, carpet's nice and clean. Needs to be a vacuum, but it's in good shape. So and I got a buddy that does detailing. I might just have him detail this thing, but you know, they're pretty reliable cars. Might need alignment. Well, let's get it in the shop. I got the jump pack hooked up to my ATV winch. Works pretty good. We'll get a little, I got the parking brake on. We're gonna get it rolling back. Just unhook the winch cable. It's got enough slope on it. I think I can just roll it back. Okay, there's two ways to do this clutch job on this thing. I think it needs a pressure plate. I'm going to start it up so you guys can see what the diagnosis here for the clutch. Either pull the motor or pull the transmission. All right, I'm going to fire this baby up. Push in. The clutch is right to the floor. Something's wrong with that pedal. It is jammed to the floor under there. It's stuck. Here's the brake, here's the clutch, shoved way up there. Sounds terrible. What's going on is that's the throwout bearing fork rattling around. So something's bad with the throwout bearing or clutch pressure plate. I'm going to pull it apart before I start buying parts for it, and I'm going to pull the motor. Here we go. This isn't really a how-to video. It's just me showing, buy a car, pop a new clutch in it, daughter can drive it, or I can sell it. So engine's coming out, batteries coming out, air conditioning, leave the lines hooked up so you don't have to mess with this, you know, vacuuming out the system and refilling it. Just throw the pump over here where the battery currently is, take the power steering, same thing, leave it hooked up, pull that aside, pull the airbox, 2 engine mount bolts on the frame, and then the bell housing bolts, engine comes out. Can even leave the, I believe you leave the radiator and fans in, just pull the hoses and drain the coolant. So should be about, we'll time this. My buddy can do these in about 45 minutes. All right, got everything unbolted on the top side of the transmission. Down below here, really easy access to these exhaust bolts to the head, pulled 3 on each side. Motor mount nuts right here, those pop right off. And then I just got to pull the starter up in here and a couple more transmission bolts behind right back in here. Well, where is it? One down in here. And this thing is coming out. Just about ready to pull the motor. Got the lift, the electric forklift here. It kind of works out pretty good. I just put a chain around it here to a couple points on the motor, and I put a vice grip so it doesn't slide off as I pull. Looking down inside here, oh yeah, you can see that throwout bearing. It is toast. It's junk. I probably need a rear main seal too on the engine. There's a lot of grease in there. Let's pull this thing. Well, it's hanging here. Boy, look at that. Clutch is smoked. Yep, bunch of fingers are broken off the pressure plate. I don't know how we'll check out the flywheel behind here, see if that's good. Look at the metal shavings. Yeah, just as I suspected. The actuator arm here for the hydraulic clutch runs a fork down here. And this is called the throwout bearing. Oh shit. That's not good. It rides on that. I might need a new transmission. We'll see if they have a replacement sleeve for that. I'll have to dig into if there's something I can do there. Here's the other half of the bearing, the bracket. This thing's junk. Yeah, the biggest issue is this transmission snout here. I just looked online, you can get a replacement, like a slip over sleeve that fits a steel sleeve. It has a couple set screws to hold it onto that snout. So I can fix that, which is great. And then I'm gonna rip this apart, pull off this pressure plate and see if my flywheel's any good underneath here. I need a disc, I need a pressure plate, but we'll see if I'm gonna be needing anything else back here. Flywheel. I'd love to just leave that stock flywheel in there.
Parts are falling out of here. These arms are broken off. Shit's falling everywhere.
They're held on, these pins kind of, sometimes they're... All right. That's the disc. That's decent. It's getting wore out, but it's not bad. All these ears breaking off. Yep. Well, actually that's pretty good. It's not chattered, it's not, usually, I'll bring it in close here. Sometimes these will be, I mean, it's got some marks. It looks worse in the picture. There's no chatter, there's no burn on it. I might just run the DA on here in my sander and just kind of scuff it. Should be good to use that. That'll save me a little bit of money. Probably should put in a new pilot bearing. You're this far into it, I might as well. Well, we got the engine out. I decided to take a look at the timing belt. See these cracks right here? That's not good. If this belt breaks, then it is an interference engine, which means the valves can hit the piston if this breaks. So I'm gonna put a new belt on it, pull this cover off, and this belt is definitely shot. But this should be tight. This should be tight. Timing belt is, you got some check marks in it. It's shot. And look how loose this is. I can't believe it's running. It ran great. And I don't know what's wrong with this tensioner, but something's goofy here. All right, I got my DA here with some 220 grit, and I'm cleaning up the surface of the flywheel here. I think I might be able to reuse that. It wasn't really fried, baked, or warped. I'm just cleaning it up a little bit here. Really good. There's no scratches, deep gouges in it. So I've seen them before where they're just burnt spots where it's been chattering and burnt. This isn't burnt, it's flat. Quick little wash on the engine and transmission here. Clean that up, cross member. Kept the water out of the catalyst here, so it's gonna be clean under here for an 08. We're gonna get her all cleaned up. Yeah, I got the motor all cleaned up here, at least degreased and sprayed down. I am gonna put a new belt on it. There is some check marks in here. I have another belt that came out of the old Volkswagen there with the Subaru swap in that. This one has good tensioners and pulleys. These got 5,000 miles on these older parts. I say old, they came out of another vehicle with 5,000 miles on it. So I'm gonna put at least, I'm gonna put all of it, because I know these bearings are all good in the tensioner and these pulleys, and that belt's good. So I'm gonna just replace it instead of spending the 100 and whatever, 150 to, it depends. You get a Gates kit, and some of these kits are up to upwards about 300 bucks for this. New Gates belt installed. That's actually got 5,000 miles on. The tensioner, pulleys, and the belt I took off another vehicle, so that's replaced. And I pulled off the flywheel down here. I sanded that baby with the DA. Looking pretty good. That's usable. Got a rear main seal is leaking really bad, and that was causing all the grease and everything, and oil, I should say, oil. So I got this seal removal tool. I kind of pounded that in just to one of those holes. Let's see if I can grab on. There we go. That did it. So yeah, there we go. Well, I got the Amazon parts showed up today. I got the clutch, pressure plate, throwout bearing. Got that sleeve that goes on the snout on the transmission here. This is a cheap Amazon kit for 104 bucks. It included that Speedy sleeve. Just do a quick search for your make and model and put Speedy sleeve in there and you'll get it. Got a new rear main seal. I got a oil pressure switch. Came in, and the other one's leaking around the base. It was pretty oily, so I thought I'd put one of those in. Exhaust gaskets and a fork for the shifter. The other fork was wore out. Fork right here, pretty wore out from rubbing improperly on that, so I just thought I'd buy a new one. That was 20 bucks. These bolts to hold on the timing cover were 10 bucks. These were, I think, $8. That was 9 bucks. This was 7, and this was 104 for this whole kit. I think I got 160 into all the parts for this car here. Put the motor back in, going back in today. I'm gonna pop the new rear main seal in here. I got just a slight little bit of RTV. I want to put just a light, ever so light coat on the outside. I don't trust. It's very thin. Before I put the seal in here, I am going to put a little grease right around the lip of the seal, just because it's brand new. I want it to be able to get a nice break in instead of being completely dry. So punching her in all the way around at the same time. This isn't going to hurt a thing. All the way around, tapping. It's good. There we go. Hopefully that prevents any leakage. Don't laugh, guys. I'm going to give it a Craigslist tune-up here. A little bit of paint, put in a new sensor here, cleaned it up, taped off a couple other things that I didn't want painted, a couple sensors. I'm just going to spray that silver just a tad down here. I scuffed when I painted the engine in the Volkswagen bus, I used this silver. It looks great. I'm just going to shoot it a little bit, nothing big. You can't hardly see this down in here, but I wanted to clean that up. And then I'm going to take some of this and spray the timing belt cover. This is called Slick Products, sold on Amazon, 12 bucks a can. This stuff makes anything look great. So see how terrible this is looking here? Let's I'll show you what it goes from this milky white, mist it on. Sometimes on a four-wheeler or ATV or snowmobile, you just let it sit for a day or two and let it soak in. But I take a clean towel here and I'll wipe that in right now. I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. I got a little contrast silver with the black. This is cleaned up, sprayed down, and a little bit on the valve covers. I don't want to take the time to do the intake. This is, 190,000 miles on the thing. So, nothing fancy is going to happen here, but yeah, cleaned it up a bit. Here's the sleeve that goes on the snout of the transmission and slides on this new throwout bearing. So this needs to go here it will not go on all the way. I think it's a little bit chewed up there. So I'm gonna sand the shaft a little bit. I just got a little sandpaper here. I'm gonna sand around it and get the sleeve to fit on here. It's gonna be a slight press fit. I just wanna take a little bit more off before I pound that on. I think I can just pound it on with a sleeve a little bit. All right, got that cleaned off. Got the sleeve to go on, and I've got a piece of pipe here to pop that sleeve on top. There we go, bottomed out, nice. Boy, that'll be great. Now I'll grease that up, and I'll just grease this up and put this bearing, this throw-up bearing on here. Look at that, slides right on the steel on steel. Perfect. All right, I'm just double checking. I greased up the splines, making sure this new clutch disc will slide on there properly. I've got the new bearing installed over the new, the sleeve I put on there and tapped on there. Brand new throw-out bearing arm here. Little clips right here to hold everything together. One on each side. All set to go. I had to bleed this because when this arm broke, the piston had popped out. When the bearing broke, the piston had popped out a little bit, so I had to bleed this to get everything pushed back far enough so I can get this thing assembled. Now I'm going to put the flywheel back on the motor here and get this new clutch. I got to also put a new pilot bushing. It's a clutch. This end of the transmission plugs in here, and that's called a pilot bearing. And here's the new bearing. So that's just pressed in here. This flywheel is good yet. I just DA sanded that down a little bit. It's in great shape. I'm going to put a new bearing in here. Got a socket here. I can just lift this up. Another hit. One more. All right, that's the old bearing. It's just a through bore all the way through, straight bore. I don't need to pop it through there. I want it to stop at the shoulder here. And there. That allowed me to put that flat surface there. So now it's flat. So, oh, that's way smoother. This one's a little ratchety. I can feel it notchy, if you will. This one's nice and smooth, so that's it. All right, the flywheel goes on now. Nothing. Sometimes there's a pin, they go one way. Not on these. There, she's sitting flat. You can get one all the way in. All right, 52 foot-pound. All right, I got the pressure plate kind of loosely fit here. I got the new disc, clutch disc installed there. It's slipping around inside, so got that drops into the pilot bearing, the alignment tool. Kind of get it somewhat centered here. And this spring loaded. These fingers, this will all push together here. Get these all. Looks good, looks aligned, ready to drop the engine in. All right, time for the first fire up. Put in gear. Oh yeah. Clutch works. Yep, almost there. This should all fit back in there. Well guys, been taking that for a test drive last couple days. Runs pretty good, clutch works great. So the clutch work that I put into it, the timing belt and all that, I've got about 165 bucks into this $900 car, so just under $1,065. And next thing, it needs front struts here. Going down the road, it's just a little bit shaky and bouncy. I think the shocks of the struts, front struts are shot. So I'll replace those. It'll be a good little driver. Thanks guys.